08082222037. Those are the numbers to call. But before we introduce or bring up Stephanie Adams to the microphone this morning to talk about what her center is doing on media freedom, on making sure that journalists are safe in the line of their duties on Saturday, I'd like to bring you up to speed on a few publications from Premium Times this morning. Gunmen kill Labour Party senatorial candidate and 5 others in Enugu State. This is a headline story for this morning. Atiku, Kwankwaso, Obi, Tinubu make vague promises on rule of law. I'm sure a lot of us have seen the manifesto document of various candidates and the kind of heavy promises they have in there. Now, this is an analysis by Premium Times looking through what their promises are and how concrete they are. And of course, our findings are that these promises are quite vague. An editorial by Premium Times, Navigating Nigeria's Elections, a Citizen's Guide. This is very important that you read ahead of Saturday, so of course we know how to walk into the polls with our heads high. 18 political parties presidential candidates signed second peace pact. Another peace pact was signed yesterday in Abuja, ensuring, of course, presidential candidates committing to a peaceful poll come Saturday. And with fingers across, we hope to see that, they keep to the content or the signings they've done yesterday. Don't die for any politicians. Do not die for any Nigerian politicians, I beg your pardon. Filmmaker Pascal Atuma tells Nigerians. And lastly, history will speak more of my stewardship, Buhari. This had the few headlines from Premium Times this morning. We'll take a quick break, and when we return, we'll be joined by Stephanie Adams-Douglas, who is the Deputy Manager for the Media Freedom Project at the Center for Journalism, Innovation and Development. Stay tuned.
Platform brings to you every minute stories that helps you make informed decisions and hold public officials, individuals and organizations accountable. We have cartoons, videos, podcasts and other interesting content for your delight. For timely update on politics, entertainment, sport and business, visit our website on www.premiumtimesng.com and follow us on all our social media platforms. Don't miss out. Investigations, special reports, analysis, and breaking news. Premium Times, a leading multimedia news platform, brings to you every minute stories that helps you make informed decisions and hold public officials, individuals, and organizations accountable. We have cartoons, videos, podcasts, and other interesting content for your delight. For timely update on politics, entertainment, sport and business, visit our website on www.premiumtimesng.com and follow us on all our social media platforms. Don't miss out.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is Premium Times, half hour brought to you by Premium Times on Citizen FM 93.7. My name is Chiamaka Okafo, and today we are joined by Stephanie Adams-Douglas, who is the Media Freedom Deputy Manager at the Center for Journalism, Innovation and Development. Good morning, Stephanie.
Good morning, Chiamaka. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here this morning. And we will be discussing the safety and the role of journalists in the 2023 election. So when I say 2023, it sounds like it's so far away. Saturday's election, please. It's 2 days from now. Exactly. So speak to me about the nature of the job you are doing at the center with the Media Freedom Project and how it factors in the safety of journalists in the line of their duty. And of course, Saturday is also another day for us to be on duty. So speak to me about the kind of work you are doing currently to make sure that journalists are safe enough to bring us information, news updates on what's happening, who is winning and who is leading.
So there is no form of information that is going to go out there without having to pass through a journalist or a media organization. And historically, we have it that Nigerian journalists are more like enemies to the government, which is absolutely not true. So we get to see records of journalists being attacked for carrying out their duties, for doing their jobs as recommended or as mandated rather by the 1999 Constitution. However, most of the time there is always the cases of safety. We talk about the welfare of journalists and how journalists are being attacked on a daily basis, while carrying out their duties. So ahead of the 2023 elections, we are concerned about the safety of journalists. This is absolutely a different, type of election, I would say, compared to what we have seen in the past. This time around, there are different types of, I would say, sects, be it religious sects, ethnic sects. So it's also increasing or, compounding to what journalists have been facing in the past. During the 2019 elections, what journalists had to deal with mostly was, Boko Haram, the security issues, because we've seen where Boko Haram have, in several videos of theirs, mentioned several media organizations. Some of them, I would say, Dandal Kura, a media organization in Maiduguri that has been attacking and countering the activities of the Boko Haram. So on several occasions we have seen where Boko Haram actually mentioned specific journalists, media organizations on some of their videos. But this time around, we're getting to see a lot of, different aspects, especially in the south, southeast. We have the indigenous people of Biafra, we have different sects, the ECN, and so on. And the attacks are not just, unlike before, the attacks are not just coming from state actors, interestingly, but now they're coming from specific sects, specific groups, and even coming from individuals, thugs and supporters of politicians. So our major concern is ensure that journalists are safe to carry out their duties. On several occasions, we have lost journalists, as a result of them just carrying out investigations on or holding people accountable, which is exactly what journalists have been mandated to do. So ahead of the 2023 elections, we are touchlighting. This is one of the things that we have resolved to do, advocacy to ensure that, the safety of journalists is not just for journalists or civil society organizations. The safety of journalists is for everybody, be it state actors, non-state actors, just to ensure that this set of people are actually kept safe. This set of people are allowed to carry out their duties without being harassed. I mean, in 2019, so many journalists who were out on the field were attacked. I remember you were also out on the field, doing your work, and we got reports about how you had to run for your life. We've also, just recently, in 2022, during the by-election, the Ekiti gubernatorial by-election, journalists were beaten, harassed, taken, detained. So a lot of journalists had to come together, to advocate, to reach out for help, from specific authorities. And that's what CJID has been doing over the years, to reach out to the specific authorities, even though to an extent those authorities are the ones holding the journalists, detaining them, harassing them. But just to call out, for their safety, ensure that wherever they're being held, they're released and their safety is assured.
Okay, thank you for that very short, long, but yet packed, summary of what you're doing at the center. And so perhaps we need to clearly state, make it clear to our listeners that indeed journalists are human beings just like every other person, and they don't have any superpowers. There's no odeshi sort of, for any journalist. So when we go out to the field, we are exposed to the same danger every other person is perhaps exposed to as well. So in in bullet points, perhaps you want to help us understand the kinds of dangers journalists, come across or may face in the line of their duty, especially with the elections. And I like that you pointed out that this is a different kind of election in the sense that a lot of stakes are high, there are a lot of interest, people really want to see something different this period, and we can see them expressed in the kind of campaigns we see people doing, in advocacy, in young people's participation. And like never before in the recent history of Nigeria have we seen young people so invested, aggressively invested in the elections and what the outcomes will be. So speak to me in very clear terms of the kind of challenges, or speak to our listeners better still on the kind of challenges journalists could be exposed to in the line of their duties, and how they, as well-meaning citizens of Nigeria, could help see that journalists are protected in the line of their duty, because at the end of the day we are working for our democracy, and democracy benefits all of us.
Absolutely. The major attack that journalists are prone to experience will be physical attack. Aside physical attack, it will also be the cyberbullying, digital attack. These are the major attacks that we are mostly concerned with. And interestingly, you talked about how young people are vested into this election. Interestingly, it's not just young people. I was speaking to a group of diplomats recently, and they said that Europe is really invested in this election. They've never been as invested as they are right now. So the world is actually touchlighting on the 2023 elections, which is just around the corner. But we are concerned about the physical safety of journalists. We are concerned about how state actors specifically, and I will call police, DSS, how they handle journalists out there in the line of duty. So as citizens of Nigeria, it is your responsibility to stand up for a journalist. You will be able to know a journalist. The stakes are high and the dynamics have changed, or I would say I suppose that the dynamics will change for these elections, because security is the number one thing for journalists. So it may not be entirely visible that this particular person is a journalist. Why? Because of security as well. But if you identify a journalist, it is your responsibility to protect that journalist. Remember that they are out there to carry out their duties. It is their civic responsibility. It is their responsibility to gather information, accurate information, emphasis on that, and share it with the general public. So it is not just for you to vote. As you protect your vote, you should also protect journalists out there. And same with the cyber attack and cyberbullying. I think we need to slow it down on attacking specific individuals or even journalists or media organizations that do not share the same, the same sentiment or the same idea about a particular candidate.
Thank you very much, Stephanie. We'll take a quick break, and when we return, we still have Stephanie Adams here. But before the break, I'd like to remind us that this is an audience-centered program, so you can call us in immediately to share your thoughts on how you think journalists can be protected in the line of their duty, or how your experience with, of course, protecting journalists or journalists being attacked. The numbers to call are 090-3222-9797, 090-3222-9797. You can also call 081-8222-2205, 081-8222-2205. The other number to call is 080-8222-2037, 080-8222-2037. Those are the numbers to call. We'll take a quick break. Stay tuned.
For timely update on politics, entertainment, sport and business, visit our website on www.premiumtimesng.com and follow us on all our social media platforms. Don't miss out. Investigations, special reports, analysis, and breaking news. Premium Times, a leading multimedia news platform, brings to you every minute stories that helps you make informed decisions and hold public officials, individuals, and organizations accountable. We have cartoons, videos, podcasts, and other interesting content for your delight. For timely update on politics, entertainment, sport, and business, visit our website on www.premiumtimesng.com and follow us on all our social media platforms. Don't miss out.
Welcome back. This is Premium Times Half Hour, brought to you by Premium Times on Citizen FM 93.7. We have been speaking with Stephanie Adams Douglas, who is a Deputy Manager at the Center for Journalism, Innovation and Development for the Media Innovation Project. And this morning, she has been speaking to us about how we can keep journalists safe and the safety of journalists ahead of Saturday's elections 2023. I do not want to say 2023 elections. I'd like to say Saturday now, just to remind us how close we are to the end, to the finishing line for the first part of the race. Of course, after the elections, the journey begins, of course, for us as Nigerians. So, back to you, Stephanie. Now that we've pointed out that it's important for Nigerians, citizens, to protect journalists and also know that we are working for the good of everyone, how can journalists themselves protect themselves? Safety first, the FRC would say. So how do journalists, do this for themselves before citizens can come to their rescue if need be?
The first thing I'll say is an editor, Mr. Idris Akibajo, will say, no story is worth your life. That's how much an individual's life is important compared to what we need to use as a breaking news or so. Journalists are aware of what to do. They have been trained. In January, I remember that the center trained over 50 journalists across the sub-regions on safety, holistic safety ahead of the elections. So journalists are aware. They know what to do. They know that the first thing to do when they get to a polling unit, or rather where they are supposed to observe elections, is to identify an exit route. Journalists have already been prepared mentally. At least that's what we have been doing at the center. Also give psychosocial support ahead of the elections, because you never can tell what will happen out there. You never can tell what to expect. But coupled with what we have seen over the years, of course, it's enough for us to be able to come up with strategies to protect journalists. So journalists are aware of the safety measures to take, and the safety mechanisms in place for their safety. It's not something that I would love to, say, because again, their safety is very much important. So it's like just divulging a very, important information to the general public. But journalists are aware. They have been trained. Unfortunately, there are so many journalists that may not be out there on the field because of, again, some of the issues that Nigeria is facing as a whole. One of the major issues would be the cash crunch. No media organization would like to send out their journalists out on the field and then they get stranded because their safety is important. Yeah. So there's been a lot of, issues. There's been a lot of strategy to see how we can ensure the safety of journalists. And we've also been talking to security agents to see how they can support and also protect journalists out there ahead of the 2023 elections.
Okay, thank you so much, Stephanie. So to wrap up this episode of today's episode of Premium Times Half Hour will be to ask you to give final thoughts to Nigerians, to journalists, on how to partner, to work together to see that, the work for Saturday is done efficiently and effectively.
It is our responsibility as individuals, as citizens of Nigeria, to work together with journalists, with security operatives, to ensure that everybody is safe, not just journalists, to ensure that people cast their vote and the votes are accounted for. It's important that we work together without any form of sentiment. It is also important that we know that my favorite candidate may not be your favorite candidate, so it will be undemocratic for one to try to force one's candidate on the next person. What we need to do is to go out, cast our vote, protect the individuals around us, and ensure that the 2023 elections is free, fair, credible, and safe.
Thank you very much, Stephanie. This is where we wrap up for today's episode on Premium Times Half Hour. But before we go, I'd like to bring you updates, of course, on the news in no particular order. History will speak more of my stewardship, President Buhari says. Don't die for any Nigerian politician, filmmaker Pascal Atuma says. Major presidential candidates, parties signed peace accord yesterday, of course, here in Abuja. Navigating Nigeria's Elections, a Citizen's Guide. That's an editorial from Premium Times. Article Kwankwaso Obi Tinubu make vague promises on rule of law. And last but not the least, government kill Labour Party senatorial candidate, 5 others in Enugu. These are the news headlines from Premium Times this morning. And for more of this, please visit our website on www.premiumtimesng.com. Thank you for listening to us today, and it's important to us to reiterate that we should go to the polls on Saturday if we want to better our lives as Nigerian citizens or be involved in the decision making of our country. It is your civic responsibility to join the queue on Saturday as law-abiding citizens, of course, to make a choice of who our next leader who will be. Once again, this is Premium Times Half Hour, brought to you by Premium Times on Citizen FM. We bring you fresh update on investigations